The year is 2015. The first Apple Watch was announced, you could not escape Adele's Hello, and the newest Star Wars film after the prequels, The Force Awakens, was just released. Now looking back, this seems like a lifetime ago. Yet this year was important to me for another reason. This is the year I upgraded from antique slip joints I picked up from flea markets or garage sales and Walmart Kershaws to a true icon. And that is, of course, the budget king, the Ontario Rat 1. Now, I've mainly seen these in photos online, mainly on the EDC subreddit, but never had one in person. And that is until I happened to browse by the knife case in a distant Walmart down in Ozark, Missouri, and I happened to see a black Rat 1 in the display case on sale for only $20. Now, I was fresh out of high school, still broke, which unfortunately, some things never change, but I knew I had to have it, and out it came with me. And crazy to think, this little $20 knife sent me down a spiral that resulted in me trying out countless knives, going to Blade Show, and even starting this very channel here. This is the type of impact this knife had on me. And for one, I didn't know you could get a knife this good. You have to remember, I was coming from rusted bladed slip joints and $15 assisted Kershaws. And this rat just blew them so far out of the water, it was crazy. The action was incredible and smooth. The handle melted into my hand, and it packed a monstrous blade. I was just completely blown away by this knife, and more importantly, the price. It seemed like I wasn't the only one in on this secret online, as everybody was claiming this was the best budget knife out there. And for a really long time it was. You'd see this knife recommended in almost every YouTube video or on knife forums, and yet now 11 years on, you almost never see this knife anymore. This isn't featured in videos or in stylized EDC photos online. Our world moves really fast, and the knife community is no different. So with many releases every month, some knives are just down to fall in the background. So today I really want to answer the question, is the Ontario Rat still relevant in 2026? Is this still the budget beast that it used to be, or are there now better, stronger options out there? So let's find out. This model here has been around for over a decade, and I wasn't really able to find the exact release date. It has a relatively long history because if it's not broke, don't fix it, and that's exactly true here. This is just a really large, heavy use folder. We have no crazy opening mechanism, no fancy inlays, no premium steel. Just a really simple liner lock with an AUS 8 blade. Yet it all just works so well. And sure, it's really simple compared to some of today's offerings, but that's kind of the charm here. This knife just works so well and feels so robust in hand. And unless you're purposely trying to destroy this, this will handle seriously almost anything you throw its way. It just feels like a really hard use folder. And I think some of that kind of comes down to the size, and this is definitely on the larger end. This is 8.5 inches when opened, and it features a blade length of 3.5 inches, so you have a ton of cutting room here. If you feel like this is a little bit too large for you, they also offer this exact same knife, just slightly shrunken down, and they marketed it as the Rat 2. I unfortunately no longer have one to display side by side, but I'll try to include an image for reference. But even with this rather large size, it honestly doesn't feel too big or heavy in the pocket, as it features a rather large pocket clip that almost runs down the entire length of the handle. It is worth noting this pocket clip can be switched over to either side, and you even have the option to switch it up and carry tip up or tip down on either side. You have 4 different mounting options. And it's honestly rather rare to get 4 different clip placements on a knife, so it's super nice to see here, as you can carry this however you see fit. On a budget knife, we don't really expect great action, and instead we think of sticky deployments or gritty performance. But that is so not the case here, because once you get underneath these thumb studs, the blade just flies open. And once you break it in a little bit more, the blade will come slamming shut. I recently picked this one up a few weeks ago, so it's still pretty new, and I haven't really had the full time to properly break this one in like my first one all those years ago. And to shut the blade, you have ample room to access the liner lock, and the lockup could not be any more solid. There's no blade play, no wiggle, absolutely nothing. Now looking at this blade, this is featuring a blade steel of AUS 8. Now even back then, this steel is really nothing fancy, but absolutely serviceable. It's kind of the same nowadays, honestly. It's a tough steel, but it doesn't have the best edge retention out there. And when looking at AUS 8 knives on Amazon today, you'll mainly find open nails or kitchen knives. This really isn't a popular budget steel at the moment. Instead, you're more often to find something like 14C 28N. Now, I'm not a metal snob, so I'm not going to break down the different compositions and tell you which is superior and all those fun facts. I'm just going to talk about my personal experience. I feel like that 14C 28N has better edge retention, yet found AUS 8 to be a little bit tougher. And though I still prefer 14C 28N nowadays, this is still extremely capable and totally fine here. Now, a knife doesn't really mean much if it's not comfortable. You could have the best steel, the coolest handle, and the smoothest action, but that will all mean absolutely nothing if it doesn't feel good in hand, because the whole purpose of a knife is to actually cut things. Fortunately, this knife might be one of the most comfortable in hand without a doubt. First, the handle features a slightly curved shape, so it's extremely comfortable in hand, and it kind of swells around your palm. You also have this large finger groove here for your index finger that just really locks in your grip and should prevent you from slipping up and cutting yourself if doing more heavy cuts. And then we come to the blade. This is really cool. It kind of comes up and rises forward, giving us this little ramp here that features some aggressive jimping, and I find my thumb lands here perfectly every time. You just get such a locked in grip, and it's really comfortable, and I would reach for this knife 10 times out of 10 if doing more heavy duty work just to how this fits in hand. All the edges are smooth and flush, and it just truly sets the bar for comfort in hand. So with all those reasons, it's pretty easy to see why I fell in love with this knife. There's just so many good things going on here. Yet the biggest thing of all was actually the price. I managed to pick this one up for around $20 back in the day when it was on sale, and they had a retail price of around $30. Nowadays, these unfortunately have increased in price just a little bit and now run around $40. In the grand scheme of things, that's still fairly budget in terms of a high quality knife, but that said, there's a lot of other competition around that $40 price range. You have brands like Civivi, CJRB, and even some budget Kaisers all around the same price. So though I no longer think this was 100% the right answer when giving a recommendation for a budget knife nowadays, it still exactly isn't a wrong one. This is still an absolutely fantastic knife, and I really believe the value is there. It's just a little bit harder to give this the crown for the best budget knife when there's so many out there within the same price bracket, and some are even coming in with better materials like higher end blade steels or handle materials. That said, if you have around $40 and you want to spend and you want a knife that will absolutely never let you down, this has to be on your list. All these years later, does this still hold up in 2026? Absolutely. This doesn't feel outdated in the slightest. This knife can still hang with the rest of them and deserves to do so. This had so much hype behind it for a reason. There's just such a good knife here, and it comes in at a rather cheap entry price. And though this isn't the knife I carry every single day like I used to, this still 100% deserves a spot in my lineup, and I'm glad I got the chance to try it out again all these years later, because it's still a beast. So let me know down in the comments, what are your thoughts on the Rat? Did you carry one or do you still do? I'd love to know down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.